Good day. Before I proceed with this program, I need to make my now traditional apology to the effect that I will not be able to call that certain medications and certain products by their real names. Bear with me. There is nothing I can do. This is an important topic and one which I feel needs to be discussed, but which at the same time I am constrained to discuss in a certain way. What I'm going to discuss today is the extraordinary, indeed increasingly bizarre behaviour of the European Union as it deals with the current medications crisis across Europe, the shortage of these medications which are needed, or which the EU says are needed, to deal with the pandemic. So let's go over and get a sense of what is going on, of what the European Commission has been doing, to get a sense of how bizarre its actions are becoming. First of all, it's important to remember the starting point of this crisis, where the British, American, Russian and other governments, including, for example, the government of Israel, agreed contracts with the various medication manufacturers and are therefore now being provided with a steady and growing stream of medications. The European Union, the European Commission, dithered for several months, came to those contracts late, and failed, unlike all those other governments, to take adequate or proper measures to sort out its logistical problems and its manufacturing issues. The result is that whereas other countries are now moving forward purposefully with a medications program, the European Union is stuck, and European countries are falling ever further behind. Now, the European Commission, as we all know, asserted its right, as it would say, to organise or orchestrate across the entire European Union territory the medications response. So ultimately, it must take responsibility for this debacle. It's been fascinating to see its moves and to see the moves of top EU officials, people like EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and EU Health Commissioner Stella Kyriakides. It's been fascinating to watch them as they flay around and take ever more extreme and bizarre steps, trying to cover their decisions and to conceal their failures. They've been joined in this by those EU governments which have given them the most unstinting support, those of Germany and France, which are also now starting to behave in an increasingly bizarre and strange way as they struggle to justify their own decisions and their own reliance upon the EU Commission to do the job which they should have done themselves. So let's start with the beginning. Firstly, Brussels, as we all know, is in dispute with AstraZeneca, a British and Swedish pharmaceutical company, over the delivery of medications. The EU has claimed at various times that AstraZeneca is in breach of contract with the EU and that it should supply to the EU medications that AstraZeneca is contractually obliged to provide to Britain from production facilities which AstraZeneca has in Britain, which is now outside the EU and which negotiated separately from AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca denied this. It said that it would abide by its contract agreement with London. The EU then published its own contract with AstraZeneca, and sure enough, it turned out that AstraZeneca is not bound by to any specific timetable to provide medications to the EU. It is only required to use its best endeavours to provide those medications within a reasonable time. The problems are not with the medication itself, or with the British production facilities, or with the British seizing medications intended for the EU. It is problems, as AstraZeneca and the British have repeatedly said, with the manufacturing facilities in EU territory and with the logistical arrangements there, which the EU itself is partly responsible for failing to sort out. Nonetheless, and notwithstanding, the EU has responded by threatening or announcing plans to block the exports of medications from the EU to Britain. These include a medication product produced by Pfizer, an entirely separate company from AstraZeneca, which is not involved in any way with this dispute, and which, of course, is also contractually bound to provide its medications to Britain. Moreover, and in an extraordinary step, the EU took this step banning the exports of these products to Britain, whilst it failed to take any step to ban these products to other neighbouring states of the EU, such as Iceland, Morocco, Egypt, Syria, Ukraine, Belarus, you name them. So this is clearly an aggressive action, targeting Britain. It then also announced that it would ban the export of these medications to Northern Ireland. The justification being that Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, and that the medications, if they were sent to Northern Ireland, would transit through Northern Ireland to the United Kingdom. This has provoked uproar, not just in London, but in Belfast, the capital of Northern Ireland, and in Dublin also. Here we have to go back to the Brexit negotiations to remember what a fraught issue this whole issue is. Specifically, the EU repeatedly insisted throughout the Brexit negotiations that there should be no hard border between Southern Ireland, the Irish Republic, and Northern Ireland, which is a province of Britain. Allegedly and supposedly, imposing a hard border would undermine peace in Northern Ireland and would undermine the Good Friday Agreement, which had ended the so-called Troubles there. Yet, within 29 days of Britain exiting the EU, on terms which indeed met to a great extent the EU's demands that there be no hard border between the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland, it was the EU itself that was imposing a hard border on Northern Ireland. Unsurprisingly, every political party in Belfast and in Dublin and in London united in criticising the EU. Well, following a telephone conversation between Boris Johnson and EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, the EU Commission has backed down, and it now accepts that there will be no export ban, at least of the Pfizer product, to Britain. In other words, Pfizer will be able to continue to provide its product to Britain as it is contractually bound to do, and that there will be no ban on the export of these products to Northern Ireland, as the EU would once upon a time have itself insisted. But unfortunately, the EU has not given up, and it continues to pursue its current feud with London and with AstraZeneca. We've had decisions from the German regulator saying that the AstraZeneca product is unfit for people over the age of 65 or 64. That may or may not be true, but it had not been a problem that the EU had flagged before this row took place. There's talk of the EU now bringing legal action against AstraZeneca if it does supply medical products made in the EU to Britain in conformity with its contract to Britain. And of course, we've now had the even more bizarre threat to invoke Article 122 of the Lisbon Treaty, whereby the EU Commission would actually seize AstraZeneca's intellectual property rights and its production facilities on EU territory and run them itself in order to produce the necessary medical products. Now, consider for a moment, take a step back and think of the implications of that. What a terrible example that would give all the other big pharmaceutical companies across the EU or who invest in the EU if they saw the EU behaving in that way, in effect confiscating production facilities of a company that it was in dispute with. And also ask yourself this further question: is it even likely to solve the problem? I mean, who do you think is better producing these medications? AstraZeneca or Ursula von der Leyen and Stella Kyriakides and people like that? Surely, on any positive or logical assessment, it is AstraZeneca. These bizarre actions, one more bizarre than the other, with Emmanuel Macron now, of course, also sticking in his oar and casting doubt on the value or merits of the AstraZeneca product, are wholly counterproductive. They do not solve the problem. The way to solve the problem is to work with AstraZeneca to sort out its production facilities and to work out the logistical problems. That is what other governments have done. That is what the EU Commission ought to be doing. And more importantly, that is what EU governments ought to be doing also. They should have been doing these things months ago. There is no point in delaying further by indulging in these absurd and ridiculous rows now. Moreover, the lesson of this affair is that it is far better to work with companies than against them. Again, that is what all the other governments which have succeeded in their programs have done. It is not, obviously, however, what the EU Commission and the German and French governments are doing. Indulging in blame games is foolish and wrong. However, that seems to be what the European leadership continues to do. And we see more and more signs of panic as the debacle gets greater. So an announcement was made in Germany on Sunday, barely publicized. Very few people knew about this, basically banning transit passengers from Britain from visiting EU states by flying to Germany. These include, by the way, transit passengers who are travelling for medical reasons. A cruel and unnecessary step, given that these transit passengers must already travel after having obtained the necessary tests that prove or show that they are not infected, and also given that these transit passengers are restricted to certain areas within airports and are not allowed to travel freely in the countries that they are transiting through. It is a sign of panic. It is not a sign of mature action, and it will make no difference to the overall pandemic situation in Europe either. If you wanted proof that the European leadership is unfit for purpose, and by European leadership I am not just referring to the EU Commission, I'm referring to the governments in Paris and Berlin also, well, you have it in the way they are now dealing with this problem. Germany gained a lot of credit at the start of this crisis back in the spring through its successful or seemingly successful test and trace program. It's now clear that this was just a symptom, a product, if you like, of bureaucratic inertia. The German administration still works well. The German government, by contrast, is now obviously completely dysfunctional, as the French government also is. So, as I have discussed, not just on this program, but on previous programs, is the European Commission in Brussels. It is high time the people of Europe understood this, looked behind the cloud of abuse and criticism and blame that we see pouring out of Brussels, Paris, and Berlin, and held those people who are really responsible, Ursula von der Leyen, Stella Kyriakides, Angela Merkel, Emmanuel Macron, and the rest to account. It is they who are the authors of this debacle, no one else. Thank you very much for joining me on this program. Please join me on other programs that I make for this channel. Please join me also in my other channel, our other channel in which I work with my friend and colleague Alex Christoforou. Please also look up Alex's channel. You will find links under this video. Please also check us out on our other platforms, BitChute, Library, Odyssey, Rumble, and the rest. Please also support us through PayPal, Subscribestar, and Patreon, and also via Bitcoin, and also come to the wonderful products that you will find in our shop, our amazing t-shirts, long-sleeved and short-sleeved, our famous magic mugs with the flags of the various countries, our extraordinary hats, our hoodies, our sweatshirts, and all the rest. And I also look forward to you joining me on my next program. Thank you very much, and I look forward to having you again.